So let's just assume that this is nature, and a particular type of nature, the clone inversion, yes? So female clone. And we're just going to use this as a process if we can continue on this journey of constantly clone, adaptation. It's going to go this way for as long as X, Y, Z, yeah? Now, if we did these in intervals, what could be the reason for it? So if we put a breach in here, that there could be a few variations going backwards. So we'll say for X amount of, I don't know, billion years, should we say? 1 bill. Doesn't actually matter, but even still. What if there's a split and the next version, it creates a few hermaphrodite in that process? And hermaphrodites that can clone. So this trend then begins to continue on. Whether it catches up with this one or not, it all depends. Given enough time at each interval, it throws in a few variations in between of hermaphrodite clone. You could say it that way. Wait, let me just draw the graph first and see where this is heading. Maybe nowhere. Maybe it dwindles out towards the end, but life always has a purpose, doesn't it? And if we assume it from the clone, and then what would be the next breach in that? So again, would there be another variation in the process, and would this create a female version from here? And then I'm going to do this female clone ability, but this is going to be the second one. Not the same as this. And then I could ask, is it going backwards? Now let's keep going with that process and assume that it then starts making variations here, which is then male clone 1. With the ability to clone itself. Because this becomes the gift. Going forwards, not really much of that ability. Going backwards. And then the questions as to why. So given enough time, it might evolve and go backwards. Now, is this compatible with this? No. And you would think of the clone as a reverse child. Although it is the child. And there again, questions. So, Hermy clone, hermaphrodite clone. It can't make a twin of itself, but it might be able to put this backwards. And usually, the Hermes, given enough time, will go either feminized, and then a little bit more time, and they will also go masculine. So there is a process. Now, if you keep on doing this, going backwards, and then add in another clone, or hermaphrodite on the marker, is this then going backwards through its DNA database? And essentially, it's interesting. We could look at it this way. So if we take, so we've got masculine clone 1, yes, is not compatible with this flower, perhaps deliberately or via choice, if that's how plants work. Perhaps it's not compatible here, but it's compatible with this one. Now, assuming that it's going backwards through its lineage, yes, in order for it to get to the point where it's at now, you could say that there was male and female that led it up to the point this way. But it can also go backwards, which is interesting, not identically backwards, however. Because now with this compatible ratio from here to here, it would make a subcategory. So in the beginning, perhaps if this plant female per season made 1,000 seeds and only a male was able to fertilize those up to a point, you would understand that if this had the ability to clone, how many more of those variations? And question, would it recreate this one considering this has gone backwards? Which would then, if there was any intelligent beings paying attention to that, would ask a lot of questions. You notice that your paradigms would shift each time. That time goes on, this paradigm would shift. So let's understand that it goes male and female, which created the female clone, and then the line stopped, and then it continued to clone therefore on. So this process here has stopped. And now it's in clone mode. perhaps it understands that there is a male-female version of me, which then you could understand as hermaphrodite. And then maybe hermaphrodite, after enough time, identifies one characteristic as male and produces it from the clone variable.
Yeah.
And also it would understand that it's part female. Maybe it identifies to create a female clone too. These two are now compatible with one another, which can then, with the amount of seeds that are fertilized, because this would be looked at, this is confusing, mum, and this would be dad. But yet now clone is now God mode, if you want to call it that, because it's in clone mode. And by going backwards, it identified the markers going backwards. But the ratio is Hermy in between now. And I wonder if it followed this process all the way back to day dot, whoever started this up in this chain.
Yeah.
Is this ends on male, does it? Male clone variation 1, 2, however many chains fits into this. So if we understand that this is the first female, although this one appears to be the first female that is now compatible with this male, the trend continues, which is rebirth. But it's not all. RTH. So this is a rebirth line because the pollen should be compatible. Now, if it creates a Hermy because it looks into itself, with the ability now to clone and also look backwards as opposed to looking forwards, and it would understand that it's also two parts. This male understands that it's two parts. And this female understands that it's two parts. Or is there a new learning cycle and it drops the hermaphrodite and just goes back to creating, this one goes off to create female version 3, female clone version 3. Could the 3 then create the version male clone, which would then be 2? And keep going backwards and backwards until you add an additional, the third one then becomes the fourth one, the fifth one, the sixth one, seventh, but it's going backwards. It's just recreating what it's already got it to this point. Now that doesn't ensure that it survives over and over. Not really, because it's got an addition of clone, but its rebirth is now possible because these two pollen types are compatible, because those two pollen types that are compatible are what led to this invention of the clone in the first place, the process where it runs dry. So going backwards and unpicking that then allows for rebirth, because these pollen types, and then for how long it's in existence for, it can rebirth and clone. So that's already a progress continuing on, but it will dwindle out. It will reach zero, where this can no longer, and then it poses another question: what do they create? And here's another one for you. Would this and this that once created this going forwards, now this one creates this, which divides into these two. Can these two recreate this one? And would that then make a twin? Which would be a fascinating process. So, and let me draw it in another way, because this gets very confusing after a while. Is it confusing you?
Yeah.
Why else would it clone? So given enough time going backwards, if this was the last clone alive of that species, and it's getting faster and better at doing the cloning, sure as shit, there's going to be a break in the chain somewhere. It's going to start looking at, it's going to understand that it's part masculine, part feminine, but maybe not able enough to create that, but create a hermaphrodite from that process. Then can the hermaphrodite identify as one more so being feminine, one more so masculine? And can it unpick and transition backwards, which is fascinating. How can I do this? So if we take it as female clone, and that's version 1, was created from, let's say, father, yes? So we can say male. And we can say female. Drop the clone. So these two merge together to create this female. which is an interesting thing. And then does female create hermaphrodite? Oof. Try and understand that. I do my best. Which then goes on to split apart to create female. And male with clone ability, and also with cloning ability, and hermaphrodite with cloning ability. So essentially it was this went this way to create this.
Yeah.
This creates this to then recreate this, but with a factor of cloning capabilities added in.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a very weird pattern when I really pay attention to it. Female, male, which creates female clone. Okay. It seems to be quite a link. And what is the process that it knows? It knows one way, and then if we look at the black hole versus star,
Yeah.
this knows how to go this way on the periodic table. So from point A to B to C, all the way through to Z, yes?
Yeah.
And stars trend this way. Black holes, so to speak, trend retro. So you understand this putting together and picking apart, putting together, picking apart. And it sort of shows up in this, for me.
Yeah.
If not, why else would it be holding on to that? This capability, and why not give up? Which it doesn't, and therefore, could it then create a rebirth? Which it is, yes, but this will exhaust itself. So if it keeps on going, so therefore that will push the desperation on it to go again, go again, go again. Once it's learned the process, given enough time to unpick that, yes, I'm part two forces that created me, but it doesn't know how to make those either way. However, hermaphrodites do know how to go one way or the other. So you already have this new variable, which you would think then hermaphrodites would be a variation to the process. And from hermaphrodite, it can go either way. So that's the variable. Now, whether it works backwards or not, which is interesting, which then starts to recreate these ones that initially came together without the cloning capability, which made this.
Yeah.
So it's almost like resurrection in your own bloodline. Now we can understand that that will expand, because if in X amount of time, this was only enough to last per one season.
Yeah.
Whatever happened, maybe it dwindled out depending on where it comes from, and if we follow it back further, it's a plant that can wait for better times to improve. So it's got multiple lifelines on it. So onion layers.
Yeah.
Each diminishment of the layer protects the core.
Yeah.
As long as the core is protected, then the rest of it can slowly but surely, it's still got a time limit until it reaches that core. Then it needs to regenerate and gain more energy to push back. Battery, essentially. So these coming together at this ratio would then have X amount of time per billion capita on that to mix as many of its seeds that are compatible with one another to create and bring the species back. But that will run out. There will only be so many variations. And then what would we see? Would we see it copy itself? A bit like elements in the periodic table versus one star system to another.
Yeah.
They all seem to be cooking up ingredients, right? So are these ingredients then, if this is iron from here and this is iron from this star system, are they both still the same iron? even though it was a different star that forged that. And then if I apply it to this line, will it begin to repeat itself and then create child version with clone capabilities until it's created and it's exhausted all of the seed and pollen ratio that it can mix in so many different variations on here? Does it then begin to repeat itself? Which is a loop, but it's a good loop, but would that be enough for it? Then would it look at going further back? Well, hang on a minute. I now have this new knowledge that I've learned. What's that? That I am two things in one. I don't know how to separate myself because you're child of two parents come together to create one variation. Yeah. And you would look backwards at that and think, well, what is that? I can't divide myself, but I can create a hermaphrodite with the ability to clone, and on this side, and one of them will eventually begin to create female and male by reverse picking. And it's sort of like this with the structure of the universe as well, where things are pushed together to create a new substance and memory. Yeah. It's learned something. Yeah. Well, if you carry on the universe and you observe it as humans, and you are able to outlive the universal cycles, you hold on to some knowledge, right? Some wisdom that is very old. Yeah. And when you begin to clutch hold of that, that's an interesting process. You'll begin to notice that things are coming together, but they're also splitting apart. Which is interesting, and it's almost like the future paved the way for this moment, and then this moment begins to put back in. So the interesting thing is that it starts off limited life. Yeah. And the longer you have with this limited life, and you reach the end, a bit like a neutrino star doesn't want to quit, yeah? Yeah, yeah. And it almost bounces back and begins to become the opposite force. Which this process, following with that same principle, this is the same force. Yeah. It's reached the end and it doesn't want to quit. It doesn't give up. It still keeps going. It keeps cloning, and then therefore I think that it's going to create this deviation, which will create the hermaphrodite. The hermaphrodite will go one way or the other given enough time. It so often does. Therefore you need the oldest clone. Newest clones continue the process, because while they're existing, they're evolving to them for how old that particular clone is. There's going to be variations of male and female come from that, as it so often did going forwards. But now with going backwards, the knowledge, the extra gifts that are given back. Isn't it bizarre that the wisdom from seed to evolving and all of that carnage that it went through, it reaches a point and it reaches extinction, right on the verge of extinction. And just before it thinks that it's all over, it starts to regenerate itself, creating a clone. It didn't quit, bit like the neutrino star, right? Just as it begins to quit, just it begins to pack in, it still just does not want to die. It doesn't want to disappear. It doesn't want to stop existing. And boom, boom, it's now got new gifts. New gifts that make all the other stars in the vicinity be like, yo, wait, what? How come you get all the gifts? I want to... Okay, fair enough, you know. This does the same process. And with that not giving up, it starts to reverse. So often that it's elements, which you could understand that the elements is DNA of stars. Yeah. If you want to think of it in one way, wouldn't you say that that is DNA of a star? Yeah. Star DNA. We call it junk though, don't we?
Junk?
Well, don't you think? It's information, DNA. Yeah. And memory. And capability. Yeah. But it also created this, and it feeds on life. Yeah. DNA of star. Wow, that's an interesting thing. So as it begins to go backwards, it begins to unpick things. Unpick the DNA trail, which created it. So, which is interesting. The stars created this, and this is going to end up creating the stars. In this back and forth tandem dance, as it so often does, back and forth. And this we want to see as DNA, and the star reversing its DNA, which neutrino turns into a black hole. And the black hole starts to try and pick back the process. What am I? How am I gonna, and back and forth. And a bit like this would be the understanding of plant DNA or even human DNA and begin to resurrect through your species. Now you think of it this way. So if I look forward, we often do, we look forward to having children, right? But imagine if that all stops. Interesting, because of you're not compatible. And perhaps this knows something to forward calculate that much, which again you would use your own initiative that you couldn't really create a male because it created you, so therefore you're incompatible. And therefore does that weaken your structure of what you are. However, I wonder what happens if this female clone and it ends on a male and there's the final variant that goes back. So one way is female, one way is male. Who's the best? Neither. Both. Hermaphrodite, either or. I wonder what would happen if this interacted with this. Now that would be an interesting thing. Does it reset? Does it melt it down? Does it create another chain? Does it create more capability? In one of these variations, and then with a lot of that information being passed down, and assuming that it could outrun the universe, cocoon itself, like a seed waiting for the right time, which is almost eerie because it's almost like the seasons of the universe. Hormone-based, and so are humans. And the thing that separates us is hormones, which again, the evolutional chain in this is it's one that's more obvious as opposed to taking it for granted that we have trillions of bacteria in the gut. So evolution already shook a hand with something, even back then, and almost sort of intertwined with one another. So you could take that from bacteria, but you can also take it with plant. And you could say humans, yeah?
Yeah.
So if we are to understand that as humans and plants, somewhere along the line, evolution made an agreement that worked in the interest of the plant for humans to understand it and it to understand the plant. Sort of crossed this link that it was in long-term calculation, and that evolution is basically what evolution is long-term calculation for survival. Whatever it agreed upon before you became aware, something knew more than you did in order to enhance your survival and bind you with this. And you've both been bind, so nature and you, and also bacteria too. Brain development is possibility, but it seems to be quite giving in this aspect, and it's very flexible, and we've done nothing but chop it all fucking down at an alarming rate. I mean, I hope that shit isn't unpicked. And then what's the consequences of turning your back on that? That's something else. It's a bit like ignoring certain amounts of the bacteria in you. What happens if you just remove this bacteria from a human stomach? What happens? Is there an imbalance? Does it stabilize? Does it end you? So a lot of things working together so that one particular cell, single, maybe two, because I guess in the egg, it's a different story, bind to rely on this. Which would be an interesting experiment as well, indeed. If you found primitive life on a planet and you send nature first and it finds a way to dip in, I mean, it would answer a lot of the story, wouldn't it? And then who's supporting who? Well, both, because both has the upper hand and needs the other. Life binds with life and life supports life. That's an interesting process. So how old is nature? Well, it's incredibly old. It is ancient. It understands a lot of stuff, and it's got a lot of gifts, a lot of unlocks. So it becomes sacred, and that's where you can get the knowledge from. So what intertwined all of these things together? That's an interesting question in itself, and to get lost in that, you can put in lots of spirituality, creator, and everything else. But to say women are more and say men are more, well, that's kind of wrong. Because then, what about hermaphrodites?
Yeah.
And therefore, all part of the process. And why do we have hermaphrodites? What is that? And if we look at that, we're relying on nature. Does nature know more about us? That puts these variations in by controlling the hormones, balancing us out, which every time it unlocks a gift, it seems to be unlocking something in us too.
Yeah.
Because if we're beneficial to the thing, wouldn't it be in its interest to unlock you? And if every life form relies on nature in some way or another, directly or indirectly, is that why there are so many queens? The feminine understanding. And then what's that as calculation? Natural, fluky, or it learned something? But how did it learn? That's an interesting... A lot of things seem to bind with us.
Yeah, because it needs variables. So one of the genders is one and combines with more of the kinds of the other.
So could that be eventually, that given enough time continuing on with this process, and it's expended this ratio from here to here, that these, no matter how many times they repollinate, do this, and this, fertilize the seeds, yes, it's going to make an impressive harvest, don't get me wrong, enough to fill planets, and then some. But it's still only one strain. Now, given enough time with that, do you think that then with this cloning ability, that if it does make it the other end and it does something to the first with this one, and that's a big if that lasts that long, and the odds are still against it, right? Because it is, after all, clone, and it's got to clone its way there to make it to the finish line.
Yeah.
Which, if it is able to, and then it meets a male, what does that change? What gifts could possibly increase on the next ratio back?
Oh, the DNA can be refreshed. If there are some faulty genes somewhere, because it's cloning and cloning and cloning, it might have some genes that are not great.
Well, it's the fascinating thing is it's engineered cloning.
Yeah.
So real-time information being passed down, as much as like fast forward, it's on steroids. It's like fast forward in children from young'uns into teen years, but at the same time as this fast, rapid growth, there's also all of the information that you've currently learned being put into them. I mean, and then that information, and then, oh, by the way, here's how you clone yourself. Oh, and here's how you do this, and here's how you do that. I mean, that's a fascinating...
Is it the faster part of evolution, and then it goes into double mode, male and female? Okay.
Well, it has sped up life, though, hasn't it, for the plant? Well,
because it can read information faster if it clones, because it just directly gives the information to the next one. When if you are...
It's being a bit more in control of birth, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you think about it, but you're rebirth constantly.
Yeah, because combination of two, then it picks something. It's not always the best option.
Yeah, but I think with this calculated skill, that it has long-term calculation, in order to be ready for cloning, you must have known or predicted that it could go south. Therefore, you're already thinking contingency plan. What is that force that runs through you that is unlocking these gifts? The only thing I can really factor is time, and your evolution is much more adept. It's survived a lot, recorded a lot, and learnt a lot. And after all, survival is about learning the environment, learning the processes. Here's how it could look, right? So we could say you, yeah? And I'm just going to draw a Y for that. Why you? And your sister, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, that's mum and dad, yes?
Yeah.
And also this way and this way, yeah?
Yeah.
Also mum and dad. Now that was in one lifetime, yeah? That was all your parents had.
Yeah.
And perhaps you don't have the environment to sustain any more than that. Now, if your dad could clone and mum could clone, just imagine this, if you could recreate a hermaphrodite version, your version of a child, but in reverse for hermaphrodite, and then the variations go to mum and dad, and mum and dad start cloning off from this way, from going backwards. Is it likely that your mum and dad would have many more siblings? With the right amount of abundance around them, with the right amount of life forms starting to figure it all out, which is good for humans, by the way, if nature explodes this way and then humans do. Nature goes first, humans second, because there's no platform for you to exist on just yet, and I guess you got to put in to get out, and this is a long-term prediction. So I don't know, let's say over 15 billion years. I don't know, it seems like a lot, right? But imagine it somewhere well beyond all of that, 15 billion that we're talking this sort of process. Anyway, so let's say then that it's able to expand, and that's one species, just one species out of the overall. It happens once, you get a variable, few more variables, and then all of a sudden it becomes every day. Could you imagine that? Like humans, everything, all life forms begin to do it. But however, nature has to go off and expand. And in order to expand, it needs to create the bed. Food, yes. Animals, will you rely on those? Assuming that you eat those. Perhaps you go over fully vegan. I mean, even if you were able to eat its leaves, at this ratio, there's more than enough with it transforming the light and the environment in order to grow more leaves, in order for you to waste that, which then puts purification back and forth from one another. You could sustain life like that. It's a little bit of sacrifice, but for eternal living, that's not really bad. You don't kill it, you just eat it. And vice versa, which is interesting, fascinating, but still, this back and forth nutrients. And then who's learning that? Is it learning it in you? After all, if you're hormone based, a lot of your brain activity is thankful because of this. And how do you know that this is not a big hallucination?
You don't.
From the plants, but you've just got used to it. Therefore, you would have built up a tolerance, so it's very unlikely. So imagine your mum and dad would be busy at it. You would have many broskis and sistikis, wouldn't you? And then that's a particular species. Still, in this clone ratio. And then a few variables thrown in, which then creates great grandpa and grandma. And then in this particular time, aging is still happening. However, I'm pretty sure these clones will begin to decay down by the time you're reaching here. But there's an alarming growth ratio, and as these ones decay, that can also be food. And the same thing will probably happen here, but because it's forever cloning. Which would be an interesting sort of process. Interesting. And each clone replica in this aspect can clone outwards too. A lot of variables. So you'll notice that would probably reach where this many eggs versus this much sperm would be able to fertilize this many eggs. Given enough time, it would run out. I'm pretty sure, or it will start repeating itself. So they start making twins. Now, whether they would be identical or not, who knows? Whether it does do that. And an interesting question, would it make you again? Which that's a reference, isn't it? Well, if it continued on this trend, cool, this universe is so fucking bizarre. And any of our life forms that have figured this out would be impressive in numbers, right? But there again, they'd have to be impressive in DNA to consume that, to create a platform for this to even be possible. It's big, isn't it? It's massive. They'll be busy. They're not going to be looking for war. They're going to be busy growing numbers first, you know. If it begins to repeat, you would know from these markers here. And then, is there a difference? Which by that time, that's what is give it enough time and enough variations. Maybe out of that, with its long-term prediction, perhaps it can start engineering, which would be new information, a way of deforming in just the right ratio to make it not identical, and then it starts to understand what? DNA, maybe? Its own birthing trail? And then kind of be in control of that just by tweaking them slightly, each clone variant. And then, does it create a new species of nature? Which is freaking clever, right? Therefore, you would look at it that you could nigh on kill it. If it reaches this level, could you imagine the next intelligent life forms that make it off of remnants of your nature? They thought weeds were a problem here, yeah? Every single season they're out there spraying all of that stuff down. Could you imagine it on a variation like this? You turn your back and it's gone. I hope you got some pretty damn good weed killer. Because you're gonna need it. And therefore, I suppose it becomes more and more indestructible. But there again, if it was able to go outside of these ratios and continue existing for X amount of... What do you reckon life looks like?
Abundant.
Well, yes, abundant. That's an understatement. Of course, abundance, but... No, I mean, what do you think it looks like? It turns into it. We understand fast stars that burn very fast. But what happens if you make a star burn really slowly?
It lasts a long time.
Make an energy efficient star. Which slowed it down. Anyway, interesting. And even with these variations, what happens if it comes across a in the next cycle somewhere a remnant of? Because it still poses the question, yo, who the fuck made you? I was kind of hoping you could tell me. Oh, I did. Well, that'll be an interesting thing. Do you think evolution will ever step out of the curtain? A fine dance of trust, isn't it? Before you become aware.
Yeah.
And maybe before nature was even fully aware of itself at that point. How old was it then?
Yeah.
At what level had it learned? What has it learned? In order to know that life sharing in this way is risky, but it's also highly beneficial if the concoction is right. And then, if reading that process correctly, any other life forms out there, do you think they're going to be violent? Or do you think they're going to be more friendly in this way as conjoining the information? Because when we look at our structure, we're a collection.
Yeah.
And then we're a collection inside a collection. And we're also feasting off of the life of a star. Technically, aren't we? You telling me that we're drinking sunblood? Yes, we are. Speaking of which, sunblood indeed.
Yeah.
We're also eating bits of it as well.
Yeah.
Tastes good, doesn't it? Is that weird to think of it that way, but that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So water, oxygen, remnants of a star.
Yeah.
Feasting on it.
Feasting on it.
And life supports life, which it had to die in order for you to live. That's fucked up, isn't it? Which, you can look at it that way and it makes it all scary, or you can say that it transformed. And then you're following this back and you're like, so who created the star then? We're following back a little bit more. God, evolution, you've done a lot of deals in the dark, haven't you? Well, yes, I have. I've been shaking everything. It fucking sounds it. How do you do? I'm evolution, humanoid. Yeah, I'm nature. Good. Do you want to join the board? Okay, then. Let's rope these guys up. What does string like to do? Yes, Frank. Tangle. Yes, absolutely. Loves to get all tangled up in there. And the star's like, well, I'll put in a little bit of that. The black hole was like, you know what? I'm down for that. Everything's been making deals.
Yeah.
Who pulled the short straw?
Someone did.
Just teach me about trust one more time. I'm already seeing it. And therefore isolation. How does it deal with that isolation? Do you think it knows it's the last thing?
It didn't meet any other, that's why it's cloning.
Yeah, but how the fuck do you know how to do that? Well, see, here's the thing, right? Okay, there was this map, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, universe sees something different, if you like.
Yeah.
All of this all seems to fit. Now, who coded you to look like a flower? The star. Well, and the flower. Who coded you to look like a star?
Yeah.
Now, who's copying who in this? Who was here first? And the plant's like, I was. They're all copying us. And there again, these galaxies must be fucking psychic. You don't think something's whispering into them? Hey, you know, if you mix this like this, that's right, you just made some hydrogen. And to the other star over here, what about me? You've just made some hydrogen too. Now you've made some helium from that hydrogen. Put it all together. I shouldn't say make hydrogen. I meant helium. Look what I just made. That's wonderful. I love your obedience. You just made some iron. I'm going to clone myself. How's that? You seen all those planets orbiting around me? Yes, I have. When I pop my guts, I'm landing into most of those. Okay. Why is that? Just in case we start the fusion process off again. My, you are more tenacious than this nature. Okay, now who's following who in this? And then the neutrino was like, you know what? Fuck all you other stars. I ain't making any iron. No? What do you plan on making then? Fucking crazy. A black hole. What's this black hole? Come closer, I'll tell you. Just a little bit more. Just a little. That goes to the rest of your stars too. If you don't start dancing around me. Oh, but I think we better listen. Interesting sort of process, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you like surface living in life, or do you just love to take a plunge?
Plunge. Plunge into something.
A lot of deals. A lot of deals for nothing.
Yeah.
And now I'm confused with you, evolution. You're kind of selfish like stars, but you're also so come together like fucking black holes. I thought that this was two-faced, but you are on a whole nother level. We're gonna separate, okay? We hate all other life forms, okay? We're gonna dominate. Do you know what? Actually, it's probably best if we do come together. Okay, following it. All right, sort of understand that. A minute, away, come together. Away, come to. Are we going to keep clopping together until we look like some sort of weird lifey thing, indestructible?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then what would be the purpose of that? All those lineages.
Yeah. You have many.
Oh, little part of the story that yeah. So clones, yes?
Yeah.
And if we continue on with this trend and all of nature begins to clone, that would be a fascinating process. That's a job well done to them because there's more of the species. So it does show that individually, on its own, it can... But that wouldn't be great. So doing it with more is better.
Yeah.
Having multiple clones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wonder if there's that pull of life, that there's that fascination with certain life forms, isn't there? That sort of good feeling. I don't know, some people are like man's best friend.
Yeah.
And what is the cat? The cat is security. Well, I like rats. Indeed you do. Indeed you do. Not the same species, but that sort of nostalgia that works both ways, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Have you not seen that? Like if you've been away from a pet for a while and you come back? My dogs used to whine constantly. Oh, oh. You know what the fuck, man? Because you've been away for a while.
Yeah. Or the
That
cat
sort of
when
excitement.
you come back. Oh.
Cats do it too, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more different, but
They
still.
fluff your legs and they are all over you.
And sometimes that can overflow into vocalization.
Yeah.
So they seem to be having. Are you all right there? You seem to be having a little Kundalini. You're having a little awakening. Welcome. Feelings mutual, you little shits. Which is interesting because it's a mutual behavior there that seems to spill out on both sides. And then when focusing back to nature and that summer feeling, is it a summer feeling or is it a life feeling? We're surrounded by a lot of life, right? Because nature opens up. And in that process of it opening up, there's a small flow of animals and an abundance of it. All different life coming together. So are you getting that feeling from nature? And I assume, because you're not shaking the shit out of your leaves, that you're feeling that too.
Yeah.
Seems to work with most life forms, even big cats.
Yeah.
So that's some sort of nostalgic recognition that seems to be a sort of handshake within all of us. And then, can we tame everything? I think we can.
Yeah, and you see those big cats meeting their human friends. Years later, they will run to them and hug them, even though they are like twice, 3 times their size.
It needs a bit more longer time. But after those.
Yeah, after years, like, oh man.
Because they're going to share it. These are not a friend. These are friends. They've got fingers. And then already on the planet, you've already got your understanding that you can become gods, can't you? Does it not even get that? Because you have the ability and the power unlocked to lift all of it up with you. Which is interesting, isn't it? And could you ever imagine if they evolved to be able to vocalize? How much time would it take? Ooh. I don't know, if I apply it same to this chart here, it's going to take an incredibly long time. But eventually, a small emergence, and then a permanent one, which would be interesting. And then, would it begin to shape their learning ability? And then would understanding and clarity come, and gratefulness? Interesting, isn't it? Fascinating. So which life forms then, if you saw them in the distance, would you be able to profile them, whether they were friendly or not? They would be on their own. Which probably wouldn't work out very well. Or very minimal. Extremely minimal. But next to nothing, I wouldn't bother. Fascinating, isn't it? Don't you think all of that coming together? And then what can you learn?
Yeah.
And there again, in nature's understanding, if this is evolution all coming together, what does it know?
Yeah.
Has it spread its remnants about? They've been placed.
Yeah.
And eventually this whole thing is going to come together anyway. I just wonder how nature knows that, though.
Yeah.
And its knowing is bizarre, but it has it. It's got long-term prediction is amazing.
Yeah.
Which also factors into ladybirds look like flying weather reports. Humans are fingers.
Yeah.
And the brains. So how many fail-safes are there if a life form gets too much?
Yeah.
Pull any one of these threads and the whole thing goes kaplunk.
Yeah.
So I think we're being tested as a maybe. You lot are all maybe life forms. What makes you say that? There's a lot of threads attached to you. And trust doesn't seem to be something that is given. Does it appear that way if there's this many threads? And there again, I think that most life would understand that the stuff that comes together, depending in which way, a species that comes together, yeah, come on. That's like going with the dolphins and be like, what's your one wish? Why do these life forms have to stick together? Well, that's so you don't get all of them and you've learned how to do that, haven't you, you little fuckers? So life forms usually do clop together anyway, don't they? Have you not noticed that? They're all quite... Nature is just like, I'm everywhere. How you doing in the ocean? How you doing over there? You're in a cold climate here? So, there you are. And if it's good with hormones, and hormones is emotion, and emotion is what we release, which therefore we create an imbalance, and it understands imbalance, then even if we die with a chemical imbalance, what do you think it reads from us? And therefore, is it reading based on imbalances?
Yeah.
More than one way to see a life form, right? How does it read you?
Yeah, I think it can read all the living creatures, like not nature, but the animal kingdom, sort of, all of them. And if there's something not working well, it knows it, doesn't it?
Because
And
like
then
it or
it
lump
dies
it, we
out.
are changing just with our brain. So they say that we create a lot of cortisol. Imagine pumping that into your ground. And then are we, just by living, having brain function, are we releasing more of this?
I think we are releasing
Because
as
we
well.
are changing,
Yeah.
we're not just breathing and changing the gases, I think we're responding in that. And our brain functionality and everything else.
I think
which
the
is more on a
evaporation
hormone.
as well
Yeah.
gives plants some information. I think it does.
So you could understand that it sees without seeing.
Yeah.
Because there again, how does one star in this neck end of the woods and in another one at the other end know how to create both the same stuff? Separated by many, many. So therefore that wisdom, whatever it may be, that seems too deliberate, too precise, too coordinated. Now I know there are differences in the star outcome over there versus this one here. Subtle. And then there's what you can do. Slow down a star, speed up a star, make a star from anything you want. You can heat up anything you want. It's a bit like it with a candle, right? One candle, not good enough. Two candles, okay, we're getting somewhere. Three candles, we're starting to cook venison. Four candles, we're sizzling. Five candles. And while doing this experiment, whilst cooking some venison on there, in such a morbid situation, I'm also looking at those stars thinking, yeah, it's also cooking up life this way. Hopefully not too much. But then if you combine all of these candles being stars, and look at them as stars and combine them together, what does that look like in heat? Pressure. If you can pop all of those together, that's a massive star. Now, what's your outcome, baby? Okay, that was like this. Now, yeah. What about if I use these ones to heat it up, which are made of these ingredients, but I want it to heat all of this ingredient here up? And I want this one to be the most ingredient. Do I have enough iron to go beyond? Can we fuse iron with this? Why, yes, we can. Interesting. Now, what happens if I do it like this? See, universe? See? You didn't know how to... Oh, wait, I'm in the universe and we just made some ingredients. But you don't do it naturally. See this? Bit like nature with its... playing around with the DNA.
Yeah.
And eventually, will it begin to start making its... Ta-da! Ooh, and this one, look at this. Oh, this is interesting. And then a creator, if anywhere, would start to sweat. Shit, they're onto me. Why is that? Because they start to play around with the very force that I'm not sure I'm ready for the reveal. Do you think I look okay? Is my hair all right? Do I even have hair? Am I going with horns? They don't like horns, but I like horns. Horns and thorns. I don't know what colour to be. Shall we go with all of them? They might not see all of the colours. Yeah. Do you think I smell all right? We smell of forging metals. Fusion and diffusion. Well, I might say that sounds pretty good. What a load of weird questions, but still, even still, if you continue on this way, don't you think things will try and mush it up? And if we look at DNA from stars, are we even trying to, I can do something better than you? We just did something that is not around. This is rarer than anything. Look at this. What is it? I don't know. It's that rare. Yeah. So you're obviously going against, not going against, but going a different way.
Yeah.
And then if you lived a long enough time, would you then take that new material and throw it into a star and see what it does, whether it learns from that? Because then it'll blast your paradigm again. Are stars stupid?
No.
Do they think? Is it all planned out? Well, there's a way we can do this experiment, Mike. Tell me about it. How are we going to do this experiment then? Well, here's the thing. If we make a load of stuff that nothing else has ever made before, right, I'm listening, and we give it to the young star when it's in its early infancy, all right, is there a maturity ratio? Do we need to wait till it's 13? Come on, we've got to ask these questions. Take a little time with that. Throw it into the star and then wait for the outcome. If the star pops with multiple ratios of this, what was once rare, it goes in a little amount, yes? Star is, in, let's say it's the next one on the periodic table, outside of it, yes?
Yeah.
But when you give it this, it has enough time to figure that out.
Yeah.
And as a result, might go past iron in order to create this stuff on know-how. Based on, I've had this. What is this? And then that would make you think something about the universe as well. So can you train it to go beyond by showing it? And then you'll have to ask, is it learning? Well, at the end of it, if that ingredient is predominantly big and it made it there and then died, that will sugarcoat your reality for a bit, won't it? If any humans or ET ever make it that far.
Mm-hmm.
Do you put something very rare in that you know that all the other stars in the area haven't made the same ingredient? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay then. Mm-hmm. What happens if we show the star how it's done?
Yeah.
Given enough time,
mm-hmm.
and we imagine that we can't fast forward the star.
Yeah.
Supernova's like, I'll show you how. Yeah, that still takes too long. What, this is too long? Yeah, we were thinking like next day. I don't know about that. Amazon sort of same day delivery. I mean, and the supernova's like, yeah, I don't know about that. Don't know if I can cook elements that quick. So yes, it's fast compared to any other star, but compared to our existence, if you're playing with an experiment with that, how long would you have to wait in this ratio? That takes too long. Come on, nature. I know you want to know the answers, so come on, unlock this cloning ability for humans. We're ready for it. We'll also play Destiny as well. Don't worry, in real time. Wouldn't you? You'd probably waste your avatars. Hey, what are you doing with that avatar that you've just made your clone? Now that it's out the way, I'm going to just use this one as nature fertilizer. I'm going to miss that, Terry. Next! You probably would play games like that, wouldn't you? It'd be pretty pointless. You'd all be so good. But you could do long-term experiments with it, though, couldn't you? That's another thing. Mm-hmm. Set a timer. We'd need calendars around stars, especially scientists, wouldn't they? If they were playing around with this type of experiment. Mm-hmm. I want to know just 5 minutes before this star explodes. Oh, okay then. Mark it in the calendar. You go and live for that amount of time. Think of all the things you've done whilst that experiment has been cooking in a pot. 5 minutes before, oh, I'm on my calendar, right? Okay, fair enough. Watch it. Bang. Okay, outcome. No, it didn't work. It's all right because you've got another star explosion tomorrow. See, I told you this was an investment. Look at that. It'd have to start, but once you started and then the next day started, have a week's vacation, maybe even 2. Yeah. Lounge around in space for a bit, and then off you go again. Now, if it does give the outcome because you're teaching it, where does that process end naturally? Mm-hmm. And then, who's been feeding the stars? And then is it because it takes a piece of this new thing that last star spat out, combined with a maximum of this stuff, and it's like, well, I know how to make this, but I've got a lot of this to make into that. While it's doing that, is looking at the next one, thinking, so if I just do that again, oh, it worked. All right, got to get hotter. Right, okay, now I've got this one. Okay, finished with that fuel. Now if I put these together, all right, now what about these ones? And then is it going in processes, onion layers? Figuring out one, utilizing the heat from the other while figuring out something else, bit by bit. And then each thing that gets heavier, or whatever, does it sink a little bit more further into that star? Yeah. And then is it about mass that goes beyond iron and heat? Sounds like someone made a cup of tea in there.
Yeah. Someone's boiling water there.
I know. Come on, you guys keep it down.
You're making me coffee there, aren't you?
He's cloning. No, not you. But there again, we all start from cloning, don't we? Yeah. Self-replicating. Yeah. So that's why I always ask, is it remembering? Or is evolution like, you know what? I think you can do it with a bit more time.
It knows female can easily replicate, but it's the male who gives it the gender.
So hermaphrodite?
Yes, so if you have hermaphrodite, it has both abilities. But female can only clone and male can only give the gender. Hermaphrodite can do both, themselves or with others.
So making a hermaphrodite clone.
Yeah.
I just wonder if these abilities pass down, and it seems to be. You are the best of both. That information has been written into you. It's etched into you. You all carry it.
Yeah, you carry it when it's cloned, but it's the male who enriches the DNA, I would say.
Yeah, that
Because
was
then
going
it combines.
that way.
Yeah,
Yes.
that it combines.
This is going this way.
Yeah.
So, and if it can't go the same way, why is it making markers? Why is it creating a paper trail in us all?
Yeah.
A database.
Yeah.
And why is it holding so much information in that database?
Yeah, I wonder because.
In order to go, I think to go backwards.
Yeah, because,
and how far does that go?
Because at least current knowledge says that there are genes that are not turned on. So there's something that gets turned off in those that clone. But they have more information than they use. And something else turns it on and turns off something else. You know?
Right, so these activation and deactivation.
Yeah. Everything carries that within.
Suspended reality.
Yeah.
So, do you think there's activation and deactivation in minds, in intelligence?
Yeah. Looks like
I don't know what it is in stars. What do you reckon that is? Activation to activate a black hole. Turn it off, activate star.
Yeah. In animals or humans or plants, the information is held chemically, isn't it? But chemistry depends on physics, which is electrons and elements. So basically, the same applies to stars and objects that we call objects, because they have that, don't they? And they have chemistry as well when it works together. Reaction, whether it's nuclear reaction or whatever reaction, you still have those elements, electrons, protons, neutrons, doing something.
So do you think when species die, they change the chemical consistency of a planet? All life, when it dies, depending on how it dies, leaches something in. But if anything else rises from those ingredients subtly, do you think it reads a database that way? Chemical
I think
database.
that the plants in the vicinity, whatever, would read if there was big death, that there would be some reading from something else, and maybe that influences something else because they again interact with the soil and stuff. Who knows? It's mysterious, but interestingly mysterious.
It's only mysterious if we give it a label. It shrinks it, but because this is quite big. But last night I was sitting there running with these chains, and this is just the way I was building it. Going into this, it's easier in a mind, I think, or a particular type of computer where you can bring this up and visualize it, where it can continue going on to the variations and keep adding more. And then it begins to expand too, which is a supercomputer. You can do this in the mind, but then processing it from your mind out into reality is very... It's like we're downgrading, isn't it? You're in the mind, you're building all of this shit, and then you got to downgrade it into 2D. Well, whatever, writing. And we downgrade it. Please say there's a way of projecting memories into the... God, that would be awesome. Wouldn't you think so? Just go up to a patch in the sky, think a thought, and it just begins manifesting. Other people are like, wow, what's that? That's my thought. Now it's your turn. Well, imagination used to do that, though, didn't it? When someone spoke to other humans, that triggered that, I think. There was none of this writing. It was more about understanding the words. But how do you understand words? And can you understand words without writing? Which, yes, I think so. And therefore, that would have led to better imagination building. So, when we go through writing, we are using not prehistoric. It's like everything went backwards. It's like we created an indestructible thing called a tape and then made CDs. So the ability to imagine, and we sort of give it up for writing. We sort of slow it down.
Yeah, some cultures didn't write it. They verbally continued the.
So there's probably
their
been a lot
memories.
more better groups around that have never etched their stuff into stone.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you could pick it backwards this way and humans started cloning, well, I say started, and then it shows that you can engineer cloning, which again is very promising. And a bit like that, if something else does it, does it begin to program your reality to what is believed? So if you focus on, well, male and female do this, gonna pass on your DNA this way on a relay pattern that seems maybe you'll be back for us. Oh yes, me, selfish bastard. Of course I will. Of course. Do I like my parents? Do you want to bring them back? Oh, I don't know. And now we're going to factor that in with cloning. You know, she was a super bitch, don't you? And now give that super bitch the ability to clone. That's a nightmare. All right. I'm going to take my clones and we're going to fuck off over there somewhere. It's a good job the psychologist clone as well, isn't it? So, new bloodline. Is this your legacy? This is what you planned on doing? Oh, yes. I'm going to need a lot of clones for this. Anyway, that whole backwards and forward, oh, that's kind of strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, but still, I'm going to leave this one here. But why else is everything in a database? And do you think that your whole lineage is in you?
Yeah.
From the start?
Whatever was picked, because there's always something picked from both sides and shared, so that's why we have variation. So yeah, it's in me, but whatever was picked over history in you, in
and
me,
that's
in
these variations now, right?
Yeah.
Could you imagine if those variations of all of that etching, this code, all compact in just, this goes to show you how potent just your piece of DNA really is.
That's why you have many. They hold different information.
But this is one cloned bloodline, yes?
Yeah.
So we would understand that it's DNA, yes, to a singularity. Let's do it this way. Make it look like this. Yeah, that's good. And that's the maximum volume of that information from that one particular bloodline, yes? But now imagine that with multiple clones, clusters that are different from one another.
Yeah.
And imagine it different from humans as well. Now, could you imagine if a fragment of that mixed with a fragment of this, mixed with a fragment of this, what the next life forms would look like?
Yeah.
How advanced they would be, just in that process of cloning. So therefore, it would be in evolution's best interest to unlock that.
Yeah, I think nature does when there is sort of, how do you call it? And there is sort of a glitch.
A what?
When there is sort of glitch in DNA, sort of.
So like a mutation.
Mutation.
So that would come from stars. Gamma ray burst then.
Yeah, that can, you don't need gamma ray burst. It can sometimes happen just on its own, that there is mutation in some animals and suddenly you have another kind. That's quick one.
But there's two types of mutation, isn't
Yeah.
there? Natural processes and artificial.
Yeah.
All is applicable. So, yeah, even this can be done, you can do it, or it can happen naturally with these really compact, well detailed databases. And even then, yes, you may have appeared as this here. This may have appeared as this here.
Yeah.
Now, if you like that and you want to keep it, well, you got to do something about that.
Yeah.
But if you don't, it doesn't matter because you won't rise back up as that. And then if I add in this much of this much of this, and maybe a lot of that, am I going to change it each time?
Yeah.
The outcome is going to be slightly different. You see, so evolution doesn't care about the species itself. The whole evolving process that's linked up. I think it will work with you, sure, but by and large, if it doesn't get what it wants in that aspect, it always gets what it wants. So this whole information that's being, and for as long as it's living and the abilities that it learns, sure, it gets all fragmented, I'm sure, but potently, those packets of information.
Yeah.
Think how intelligent that is, and therefore, rather than, and you can learn this by observing, can't you, this particular life form, observing this life form inside and out, and likewise it must observe you too. I think it's just the way it works. And you can observe all of that information and it can go on to build your knowledge database. So you utilize this yourself anyway. So if nature starts to do this, what it will do is it will unlock your brain. And let's say if we fast forward and we go up another 1,000 years from now and all plants go into active cloning mode, self-replication mode, what do you think the next generation will be thinking? Cloning is a laugh? Cloning's not possible? Or will their reality begin to be fed now with, hang on a minute, everything seems to be cloning, until eventually it all begins to clone around you? Would you fight the changes? That would be interesting.
Yeah.
And then therefore you're next on the chopping block of that.
Nature is cloning, plants are cloning, but because you have so many clones, if one has mutation, the others are still cloning.
But we seem to be waking up, because cloning on its own, does it really happen, or is there an outside influence that usually triggers it? And if it is, then that would mean that certain types of nature plants then are triggered when human interacts with them and brings them in and stops them from dying or whatever else, or sleeping, and then this triggers something in its evolutional chain to trigger an activation of start cloning, which is fascinating. Now, what do we have to do in order to achieve that unlocking? Is the clue there? So if we built it an optimal, and then is there a way to talk to the evolutional process via doing certain things? And then it unlocks something. I've got more to work with here. And then do you level up to become special in that aspect? Because then it wants to keep you around and ensure your numbers, which is fascinating in its own right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Prolongs death.
Yeah.
And do you think it unlocks for us if we build a stable environment, do you think? Maybe not right away, but do you think we evolve as part of the evolving in space? That we will trigger an unlocking?
Yeah, I think so.
And a bit that when we get that new data of seeing it, it begins to influence, and maybe we don't get there via this process, it takes too long, which we can see that. Do you think we could speed it up in a lab?
Yeah.
And then we see it engineering its clones, and then can we begin to engineer ours?
Yeah.
That becomes a fascinating process, doesn't it? It almost teaches you, and then bizarre, isn't it? Do you think it's bizarre?
Yeah.
That you can sort of get unlocked in this way? But yeah, the data that comes in begins to feed your awareness. The more you have come in, well, it depends. Look at it this way or look at it not. Doesn't matter. Anyway, going to leave it there, but the database is the most fascinating one for me, the remnants of data.
Yeah.
Life gets more and more and more intelligent the older this universe gets. More packets of information, so information becomes abundant.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Abundance in, for a brief time, in platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore with lots of packets, and therefore the more abundance means that there's more chaos, I think. So there's a guarantee that life definitely would be built, especially this stuff, to understand that there is ending. And then how long has this been bouncing around for, this packet?
Yeah.
So it's already planned that there's going to be... And rather than fight that, it's gone with it. Well, maybe I could build myself like this. Oh, okay then. All right. And I can also do a little bit of this. Man, you're more calculated than a motherfucker. I mean, just... Shh. Don't teach her this stuff. Damn, that's strategy and a half, that is.
Yeah.
How do you win every battle? By existing. Okay, all right. Fair enough. By always existing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even in death, I'm still existing. I mean, that's an interesting sort of process, isn't it? And then it can be torn up and scattered about.
Yeah.
Which again, we look at the planet process of maybe being hit and broken apart. Multiple pieces, does it matter?
Yeah. Yeah.
In order for this life to then clump together elsewhere, evolve. Wow. And then spread again.
Yeah.
Getting more and more enhanced each mixing of the pot.
Yeah.
That's insane, mate. Anyway, right, I'm going to leave it there, but still fascinating enough there.
Yeah.